For me. It's been a long day. I attended a lot of the seminars too and had a great day. One of my earliest memories being a little kid was being in the kitchen, and my mother had cooked dinner and we were about to eat in 5 minutes, but she had also made the mistake of cooking chocolate chip cookies. And I could see those cookies in the jar on the counter. And my main goal in life at that point was, I have to eat those cookies. I don't care that she's going to say no. I have to eat those cookies. So when she's kind of looking the other way, I reach my hand in the cookie jar and I can just smell the chocolate. It was melting. I touched it with my fingers and it was so gooey. And the second I started to reach one of the cookies out, my mother shouts out, "Get your hand out of the cookie jar!" And I look at her and I say, "But I want it!" So loud. I didn't get that cookie. But I've spent the rest of my life trying to figure out what sounds I could have made to have guaranteed that I could have had that cookie 5 minutes before dinner. And the theme of this conference, Collaboration Across Cultures, and my point is that my job for the next hour is to teach you concrete things to do with your voice, so that no matter where you are in the world, you will always be able to eat that cookie whenever you want. Simple goal. When I was 16, I had already been studying voice for 3 years. My goal was to be an opera singer. Thought that sounded like a fun thing to do, and I had a big voice, so I'll be an opera singer. And so I'd studied for 3 years. I started when I was 13. At 16, my teacher called on the phone and said he had to go to Canada to teach a master class, Banff, and could I come over after school and teach a few lessons? And I said, "How much are you going to pay me?" And he said, "I'm going to pay you $100 an hour." At 16, I'm sure you can imagine, that was a fortune. I'd have to work a year as a box boy to earn $100. So there was one problem though. I had studied with him for 3 years as a student, but he never bothered to teach me how to teach. I didn't have that skill set, had no clue. And I mentioned that small factor to him, but that didn't seem to bother him. He said, "Just come on over after school, see what you can do." So I show up after school. My first day as a voice coach, don't know how to teach, never done it before. Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, my first student. Stevie Wonder. Luther Vandross. Barbra Streisand. Madonna. Crazy. I'm like, what in the world am I going to teach these people? I'm such a scam. I should just say, "I'm so sorry. I'm the water boy. The real teacher will be back," and then just run. So I thought to myself, what could I do? Well, my voice teacher has this big voice, louder than everyone else in the room, and he had so much melody when he spoke. And it's just, every time he spoke, I just watched people and they just seemed to melt at the sound of his voice. So I said, not having any other great ideas, what if I just try to sound like my voice teacher? Maybe they won't notice. And he was like 50. Then I was 16, so that's all I had. That's all I could come up with at the moment. So I put on this big voice and I pretended that I was him, and 6 months later, when he came back from Canada, every single one of his students decided that they wanted to stay with me, and they wanted me to be their teacher, which was a shock to them and me. But I realized, and they realized, that my talent was the ability to change people's voices. That I really can hear the way somebody sounds and then make changes. And that 6 months was such an incredible experience for me, because I was working with some of the most incredible talents in the universe. And once I got over the culture shock, I realized that I had a job to do and that I loved it. So he brought me in as a junior partner. So at 16 and a half, I am the #2 man in the most famous voice studio in the country, still kind of not knowing what I'm doing, but getting a little bit better at faking it. But had decided that I'm going to spend the rest of my life getting good at this because I loved it so much. I stayed as a singing coach for 17 years, only working with singers. But then speakers and presenters and CEOs and amazing just speakers started coming to me, and they said, we're having problems with our voice, or we don't like our voice, or this, can you help us? And in the beginning I turned them all away because I was a purist and I didn't want to take their money for nothing, and I was a singing coach. But the people started becoming even more interesting. And Anthony Robbins called me, and John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and Susie Orman was calling it. And I knew who these people were because I'd seen them speak. And I said, man, there must be a way to take what I know from being a singing coach and translate it into being a speaking coach. Because the truth is, and I'm sure you would agree with me on this, superstar singers have amazing influence over their audiences. When Madonna was popular, everyone dressed like Madonna, everyone did their hair like Madonna. Stars really do influence people to do small things like get up and dance at a concert, or remember the first time that you had your heart broken, or the first time you broke somebody else's heart. It's the power of music, and the stars, the superstars that really are good at delivering that music, have immense influence over an audience. So my goal was, I had spent years and years, at this time 10, 15 years already, figuring out how singers were doing it and working on that. So the goal was, I must be able to take the same influence training and put it over to the speakers. And I started trying to learn everything that I could learn and study everything that was on the speaking voice, and started what again would be a lifetime quest to know everything that I could about the speaking voice and how it differed from the singing voice. But very soon I became aware of one simple fact. There's no difference between singing and speaking. No difference. When you're singing, the body thinks you're speaking, and you're holding the words out longer than normal, and maybe there's different melodies going on, but it's the same muscles, same vocal cords, same air, same thing, same physiology, same mindset. No difference. I say there's no difference between singing, speaking, and performing. And once I realized that, man, I was running. Because I knew how to work with singers, and once I decided that it was just voice, and that if I trained my singers to do the same thing, the speakers, and vice versa, then what I would do is I would take the best that music has to offer. I would find a musical way of turning speakers into great speakers that had a musicality that was like when they were speaking, it was like they were speaking your favorite song. And you didn't know why you were moved by those speakers, but you were. When I open my mouth to speak, and when any of you open your mouths to speak, people are making value judgments about you. We don't like that, but it happens. And they ask themselves all kinds of questions. And some of the questions are interesting. Did that person go to Harvard? Did he graduate? Does he have any kids? How old are his kids? How much money does he have in the bank? And then they start asking stupid questions. Did he have oatmeal for breakfast? I don't know why. Does he have a dog? What color is the dog? I mean, who knows what the questions are? But people start asking questions because they want to get to know you. They're like, we don't know this person, so they start making up a story. Because they answer their own questions. And because they don't know me, they're wrong. Right? You don't know me from my bio. You know me by getting to know me. So basically this situation exists. You speak to people, one person, many people. They're going to have value judgments about you and be answering questions about you. So the art of true influence seems to me that we must immediately be able to control other people's perceptions of us. And statistics say that only about 7% of the words that I use matter to you. That only 7% are the words, content. But we live in a society that says content is king. Say the right words and you will achieve the desired result. But my knowledge, my history, and statistics hint that that's not true at all. that the content only counts for 7%. Well, I really didn't want to spend a whole lifetime dealing with 7% of what the problem was. So I'm like, what else is there? Tonality, the sounds your voice makes aside from the words. 38%, almost 40%. That interested me. So I did more research, and I really couldn't find anyone that had broken down the concepts of tonality in simple enough ways that you would understand. And okay, I could use tonality like this. How loud should I be? How much melody should I have? What are the variables of tonality? And that's what I really focused on, and that's what I'm going to teach you today. Because it is with those powers of utilizing the properties of tonality, the sounds your voice makes aside from the words, that gives you instant access to influencing those people that are listening to you. And deciding what parts of you want those people to see. You want them to see the best parts of you, for sure. But it depends on what you're talking about and who you are and what your goals are. But if, like I said, that's ultimate influence. If I decide how I want to be perceived, and then I deliver myself to you, and you perceive me that way, then we have a relationship. Does that make any sense? Tonality. That's what it's all about. There are really 3 voices inside of each one of your voices. There's a voice down low, which we call chest voice. Everybody put their hand on the base part of the neck right here. Wrap it around. And say, I can. I can. Do you feel it kind of vibrate? Do it again. I can. I can. That's called chest voice for the simple reason that it feels like it vibrates the top part of your chest. Put your hands back. Say, wee! You feel how it doesn't vibrate so much down there? What would be a good name for that voice? Head voice. You're geniuses. Head voice, because it feels like it vibrates someplace up here. Now, most vocal technique for singers and speakers, take your hands down. Very literal. Good followers. Leaders and followers. Most voice coaches in the world only think that there are those 2 voices. Chest voice down low. If you, let's say you want to be a rock star. Well, you learn to take your chest voice and you just keep trying to get it higher. So you go, ah, and then you get to the top where it's pressure and you squeeze your buttocks cheeks together and you figure, I'll get another note. And then your 2 eyebrows become 1 eyebrow. You're like, I'll get another few notes. But then there's a ceiling at the top part of chest voice. That doesn't work. Or you go to a teacher and they're like, oh, you're a woman? Let's teach you head voice. Head voice is beautiful. And head voice sounds very nice up on the top. Ah! But what happens when you bring head voice down? Oh no, not much here. My name is Michael Jackson. That's why Michael Jackson sounded so funny. He was talking in head voice and he should have been in chest voice. So head voice doesn't work down low, and chest voice doesn't go up high. And when you try to go back and forth, haven't you heard people that do this? The land of the free and the home. So there's a break in between. So I don't always want to sound like I'm going through puberty over and over. It was hard enough one time. So technique in general is flawed that most people learn. So I said that can't work. So I figured there's got to be another voice called middle voice, which lives in between chest and head. It's a good name for it, middle voice. It's also called mixture because it's some chest, ah, and some head, ah, mixed together. Ah, ah, ah. So I already demonstrated without middle. Ah, ah, with middle. Ah. And you're like, so I don't want to be a singer, Roger. I'm running companies. What good is that for me? I'll be great in the shower. Who cares? I'm not going to close a deal in the shower. And I say to you that unless you have all 3 voices, you cannot speak with the powers of tonality. You need the thickness of chest voice, that vocal cords vibrating their full length, edgy, thick. My body's vibrating, your body's vibrating, we're having an experience. I need middle, that bright, edgy, boom, gotcha, place. to show enthusiasm and energy and power and height and boldness to go where no voice usually goes. And I need head voice to add all the overtone and the prettiness, and that's beautiful. So I craft voices, speaking voices, utilizing when we might use chest, when we might use middle, and when you might use head. And what happens is you have the entire palette of sounds to choose from. And let me tell you that most of you are pianos with only 1 or 2 keys. Which means that when you speak and you think you have all the personality in the world, if I took you over to piano and showed you what notes you were actually speaking, so here I'm speaking like this, and this is my note, kind of on the same note, and then sometimes I get really excited and I might go to another note, but then I come right back to the note I'm on. So I don't want to risk it. This is a safe one. And we're like, this is not me. That couldn't possibly be me. I have at least 2 notes, which shows that I have a tremendous amount of personality. So those 2. But that's not enough. There's 88 keys on a piano. It's not enough for singers to have only 2 notes. And if you're going to speak with 2 notes, you're going to be speaking some pretty boring songs. Because the problem is, if I just do monotone, which is like 1 note over and over, this is my favorite note, like I just showed you, what happens is you start to think that you know what I'm going to sound like next. And when you think you know what I'm going to sound like next, you think you know what I'm going to say next, and then you say, why should I even bother to listen? And when you think you know what I'm going to say next, we're done. My only chance of having a real communication is for me to speak and for you to listen, and for you to be thinking, what's he going to say next? For you to trust me enough that you're going to follow me in that journey of listening to what I'm going to say. If it's my pitch to a venture capitalist, if it's whatever, if it's me down on my knees proposing marriage, the second I lose you, we're done. Communication is over. I have no influence over you. 3 voices: chest, middle, and head. You cannot have a healthy voice unless you have all 3 voices. So, as I said, there's no difference, singing and speaking. We must own all 3 voices. All the greatest voices that you love, utilize all 3. Okay? I'm going to teach you how to breathe, and then I'm going to take you through some exercises to show you your chest, middle, and head. And when somebody says to me now, again, oh, I'm going to teach you how to breathe, you're like, oh, let's go now. Because how many times are people going to say that? But I believe I'm going to tell you something now that you have not heard about breathing, and it's going to change everything. Okay? Think you know everything about breathing, but I'm going to tell you something. First of all, 2 types of breathing. One that most people do, called accessory breathing, where you raise your chest and shoulders. Everybody do this. And raise your shoulders all the way up. Keep them up. Come on, keep them up. Wow, this higher. Oh, this is good. This is so comfortable. What if we could do this all day, thousands and thousands of times a day? This would be so freeing, right? Okay, drop your shoulders. But that's how a lot of you breathe. Up with the chest and shoulders, down with the chest and shoulders. That's the way to get the least amount of air in and have no control of how air comes back out. Why do I want to get control of how air comes back out? Because I want the new beautiful sounds of your voice riding out on that flow of air. So the other type of breathing is called diaphragmatic breathing. Everybody put their hand on their stomach. Move their chest up, shoulders back and down, and don't move your chest. Breathe in through your nose and pretend you have a balloon in your stomach. Go. And then here's the most important part. Let your stomach come back in as you exhale. Do it again. Breathe in through your nose. Exhale. Stomach comes back in. Too many of you are mouth breathers. Everybody breathe in through the mouth and feel the dryness in the back part of the throat. Feel it? Do it again. Breathe in through your mouth and you will feel the dryness in the back part of your throat. It made Krishan cough. Excellent example. Does anybody feel dry when they did that? We're supposed to breathe in through the nose. There are filters in the nose called turbinates. When air goes through the nose, it becomes moist air. Okay? You have to breathe in through the nose. If you don't want to make your vocal cords red and puffy and swollen, if you want to be able to speak for 24 hours a day, and the human voice is set up to speak or sing for 24 hours a day, and if yours isn't, thinks they can't breathe. Who's just faking it. They want to grow up and be a pearl diver. Who can't breathe? Just bring me up a volunteer. Anyone. Anyone who thinks they breathe with their chest. Come on. I'm not going to bite. Hello. Hi. What's your name?
Ben.
Ben? Do we have a... You can hear Ben, right? All right. So, take a breath. Well, I need you to see his stomach. So take a breath for me. And then blow it out. And take a breath for me. And blow it out. Now stop breathing in through your mouth. Most of you breathe in through your mouth because your mouths are open. It's really not that good in a meeting to have your mouth open all the time. Right? You want to breathe in through your nose? Close your mouth. Kind of simple. Ready? Close your mouth. It has to come in someplace. It's not going to come in your ear. And then blow. Just take a breath. And then blow it out. Do it again. And blow it out. So he can do that. He's using stomach muscles to do it. But I'm saying that basically when you blow air into a balloon, the balloon fills up, and then the balloon closes without you using muscles at all. So good job. Talk for me. Let's hear you speak.
Hi, I'm Ben.
Yeah? Tell us why you're here, Ben.
I got roped into volunteering.
Okay.
I volunteered.
Great. Doesn't Ben have a nice smile?
He does.
Let's fix that. We'll talk more about this later, but here's the problem. Most people who go wide with the corners of their mouth, the sound goes into the nose. So even though you're like, wow, he's a good-looking guy, nice smile, but he's got this sound in his voice. Because the sound comes through, hits his cheek, hits the back part of the teeth, and then goes up into the nose. Because it's got to find some way out, and his teeth are blocking the way out. You got it? May I help you, sir? Thank you. So what happens is that I've got to get him to bring the corner of his mouth in, because I want the sound to come into his mouth, bounce into the cheeks, pick up the bassiness that, like a bass drum, small drum, bass drum, boom, because of the sides of the bass drum. So this is our bass drum right here. Okay? So breathing isn't his problem. His problem is that you're too friendly. Okay? So now, talk to me. Say, the reason I came to this seminar is to learn what I should be doing with my lips.
The reason I came...
You can use the mic.
The reason I came...
Louder.
The reason I came to this seminar is to learn what to do with my lips.
And that if I don't go wide with the corners of my mouth...
And then if I don't go wide with the corners of my mouth...
I have a much more beautiful, bassy, round quality.
I have a much more...
Louder.
I have a much more beautiful, bassy, round quality.
And I don't even need Roger to hold the corners of my mouth.
And I don't even need Roger to hold the corners of my mouth.
Good job. Tool to show that you are strong is volume at the first part of a conversation. It's like a strong handshake. And I got some very strong handshakes today. Let me say, my hand is bruised from the power in the handshake. So somewhere along the line they said, strong handshake is good. Well, I'm saying strong volume is good. How much volume do I want? I want you to pretend that you have to fill out 10 feet that way, 10 feet that way, and 10 feet that way when you're speaking. That your job is to fill the whole room. I don't need this mic. I don't need this mic. I have so many mics. Wow, I can't even do that. I don't need the mic to get to the back of this room. Thank you, Mark. And Mark didn't need a mic to get to the front of the room with his voice. When you find the right volume, it's louder than you think. When I talk on the phone, I don't talk like this. I put the thing here, and I talk, and I fill up the room. Why? Because I don't want my voice to be amplified by any equipment. I want to create the sound that has the right amount of chest voice, the right amount of middle voice, the right amount of head voice, and I want to have control over that, and I want to deliver it to the people, and I want it to be loud enough that they sense that there is power in that person. So let's say you're really shy. You can be shy, but you have to be louder. People say to me, man, I'm really shy, and my voice is really weak, and I'm like, do you want to spend 10 years in therapy, Or do you want to speak louder, and then people will perceive you as being not shy, and they'll say, wow, you're such a strong person. And in the beginning you'll be like, me? And then somebody else will say, wow, you're a strong person. And you're like, and the third person says that to you, you're like, yes, I am strong. And then you just saved yourself 10 years of therapy. Because how other people are perceiving you really starts to affect the way you think about yourself. So when you're louder, people are like, wow, she's really strong, or he's really strong. When you have more melody, people are like, wow, that person has a lot of personality. And so they're talking to you like, you're strong and you have personality. And when you marry the two together, it's a win-win combination. Because if you just had volume alone and you didn't have any melody, and I told you to be louder, what kind of emotion are you getting here? What's my emotion? Mad as hell. Darn it. Roger said I was supposed to be louder, so I went in my office tomorrow. I went to my professor and I said, you gave me a B. I want an A. And Roger said that volume equals power equals an A. And I brought my stomach in. But if you marry that same volume with melody, it takes all the anger out. You gave me a B. I love B's. B is great. I'd love an A. Do you think you could change that B to an A? I brought an eraser. Look here, it's a nice eraser. It'll work on pen. It's a pen eraser. I'm not mad. I love you for giving me a B. And my volume is not perceived in any way, shape, or form as angry. So you have to mix and match the components of tonality to utilize the effect you want to have on that person. Look, music matters. Hello, if I say to you, do you want to go to the movies? You're like, I don't really like scary movies. Just from the notes that I picked, and like I said, we're all using notes. Some of the notes are scaring people. And then I say, do you want to go to the movies? And you're like, I love Disney. Let's go to see, it's totally a G-rated. Or, I love romantic comedies that sometimes end sad when the guy doesn't get the girl. So, music, like I said, is so ingrained in our brains, right? You guys are all super smart. You're at Harvard. So how many people here could I bring up and they could recite 20 lines of a book, not a poem or anything, of the last book that they read, exactly word for word? Very difficult. How many people could I bring up and they would be able to recite 50 song lyrics? From the beginning of the song to the end. Some people would be able to do 100. Some people would be able to do 200. Why? Because when you combine music and words, it goes to a special place in the brain that is stored in a way that non-musical sounds are not stored. Do you understand? I'm doing my absolute best to try to tie people to that, to what sounds they should make that are musical, hurt you to sound incredible. There's no hurt. Yes, moving on. Everybody put their finger on their Adam's apple. Sorry, put their finger on their chin. Now slide it back to the first bump you find. And women, don't go that far. Because women, when I ask them to find their Adam's apple, they're looking way down here. Because women's Adam's apples don't stick out as much. A man's Adam's apple continues to grow longer in the development of the Adam's apple. So, finger on the chin, slide it back to the first bump. Now, here's how you know you found it. Swallow, and it should go above your finger, and then it should come back down. Go ahead, swallow. Anybody feel that? Yeah. That's your Adam's apple. That's the front part of the larynx. The larynx has two jobs. It's the house for the vocal cords. The vocal cords live inside the larynx. And when you swallow, the larynx is part of the apparatus that comes up and helps close off the air hole so that food and liquid doesn't choke you. Most of you have a problem with letting your larynx come up. When the larynx comes up, it closes the back part of the throat and makes it sound more nasal. So with a high larynx, people talk like this. And you're like, please marry me. Every morning you can look at me and I'll say, hi, honey. Good morning. Love you. And it's like, okay, well, some people are not that bad, but some people are that bad. But just a little bit of nasality gets in the way. Right? And it's all based on how high or how low your Adam's apple goes. Now watch. Most people don't know they can do this. This is an excellent party trick. Watch my Adam's apple. Can you see it? It's here. Watch. And then it goes down. How am I moving my Adam's apple down? When I move my tongue down, my Adam's apple comes down. Put your finger on your Adam's apple. Stop looking at the ceiling. Stay with me. Try to lower the middle of your tongue, not the front of your tongue. Try to pull the whole tongue down, the bottom part of the mouth. Put your head down. Stop getting religious on me. Put your head down. Can anybody lower their tongue and get their Adam's apple to come down? Okay, how about this? That's harder to do. Okay, so you haven't had, so Harvard doesn't teach sword swallowing. I'm just checking. All right. So do this. What? Say, Mom. Now say, Mom, like Yogi Bear. But when I make this sound, my Adam's apple does go down. So say that to me. Hey, boo-boo. When I talk with that Yogi Bear sound, even though I don't know who Yogi Bear is because I'm too young, my Adam's apple comes out. I'm just going to imitate Roger. Can you do that? Anybody feel the larynx come down that way? We must get control of what position the larynx is in, because that dictates how open or closed the back part of the throat. Who has a nasal voice here? Who's got a voice that is trapped in the nose? You, sir. Bring your nasal voice up here. Sion. Yes. You're famous around here.
Yes, I am.
All right.
All right.
Here you go. That's yours.
That's mine? All right.
So tell me a little bit about why you're here today.
I'm here because I'm an HBS grad, and my friends are here, and they asked me to come, and they're putting on this conference, and they've done a wonderful job. I'm really happy to have met various speakers here, including you.
Thank you. Okay, so what do we got here?
Very nasal.
Probably got a really nice guy, and very smart, and does not need to send any impression out to you that he has a sinus infection. Like, hey, meet with me, I have a cold, or a sinus infection. I really need my tonsils out, but meet with me anyways, I'm going to postpone it till next week. Right? Okay, so he's diminishing his power. Right? No matter how smart and successful he is, this is sending the message that I'm smaller, that I'm kind of condensed, and that I'm hiding things. Right? Because also his teeth are really close to one another. And when anyone talks to me with their teeth really close, I'm like, they are so holding back. What don't they want me to know about that company? About that deal? About that anything? Right? So I'm going to take his larynx. Sorry? Sure. It only works with this hand. This is my larynx hand. I'm literally going to hold his Adam's apple down. Okay? Now say for me, I've never had anyone hold my Adam's apple down.
I've never had anyone hold my Adam's apple down.
Wait, let's do it again. Now actually, while I'm doing this, I want you to add a little Yogi Bear. I've never been to this picnic table, boo-boo.
I've never been to this picnic table, boo-boo.
Now, almost. But you have to open your mouth because you can't get the sound out. I've never
been to
What? That was Rocky. That wasn't Yogi. That was Rocky. Okay, wait. Oh, that was Bullwinkle. Hey. No. Okay, here's Yogi Bear. Like I have a cold in my nose.
Like a cold in my nose.
And loud. Okay, watch. Just say this for me.
Yeah.
Mum, mum, mum.
Mum, mum, mum.
I can do that.
I can do that.
When I talk with my Adam's apple down.
When I talk with my Adam's apple down.
And I drop my jaw.
And I drop my jaw.
The sound comes. Out.
Out.
So I drop my jaw.
So I drop my jaw.
And I've lost my nasality.
And I've lost my nasality.
And why would I want to keep it anyways?
And why would I want to keep it anyways?
That's good. That's good. Now, I can pull that volume down and be more normal.
And now I can pull that volume down and be more normal.
Roger wants me to also bring my stomach in while I'm speaking.
Roger also.
Oh, hello. Take a breath.
Roger also wants me to bring my. Yeah, hold on.
One more.
Roger also wants me to bring my stomach in.
So he's holding his breath.
Yeah.
In other words, he's holding his breath, and you can hear that, right? You can hear when I do that. He's holding his breath. And then when I don't hold my breath, what happens? You hear the air come out.
Right.
So I don't want to sound like this. So even when his larynx comes down, he's still holding his breath. So Roger wants my stomach to come in.
So Roger wants my stomach to come in.
If my stomach comes in, I'm totally groovy.
If my stomach comes in, I'm totally groovy.
And I'm starting to get to know this voice more than the nasal voice.
And I'm starting to get to know this voice more than the nasal voice.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Awesome. People are like, man, that's just a quick fix. I'm like, who's got a problem with a quick fix? When did fixing it quick get a bad rep? The faster I can fix it, the more you're off into your normal day and lives. What's the other 55% of the equation? 7% content, 38% tonality. What's the other percentage? Huh? Body language. Physiology. So physiology is 55%, so we can't ignore that. Part of what you don't understand about physiology is it has to do with breathing too. That's part of it. So now you know how to get the breath in and how I want you to bring your stomachs in while you're speaking. So that's part of the physiology. I want to give you a little other quick tip about physiology that people make mistakes. The left side of the brain controls the right side of the body, vice versa. You know that. So when we speak and we use our hands, whether we're from Italy or whether we're from Boston, you don't hardly ever do the same thing because this side of the brain is telling this side of the body what to do, and this side of the brain is telling this side of the body what to do. So even when you try to do the same thing, if you wanted to do the same thing, you'd have to do this. Yo, 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 brain, we're going to point on 3. On 3 or 3 go, the brain says. On 3, 1, 2, 3, point. So this side of the brain has to tell this side of the brain that they're going to do something and get ready for it. So why is it when people go up on stage, they suddenly have some kind of weird tie between both sides of the brain that makes them do the same things with their hands? I love you, you love me. I'm a politician. I move my hands like this. This is called parallel gestures. And it's kind of what most of us do when they get up on stage and we're not physically comfortable. All of a sudden, we have people doing this. And now we're all trapped in a bad musical. Because that's not how we work. We don't walk like this. We walk like this because the way the brain works. So when you're making gestures and when you're trying to show that you're comfortable with your body, because when you're not comfortable with your body, people are distracted by your body. And they can't listen to your voice. Right? They're just distracted. And when people are uncomfortable doing parallel gestures, that brings a lot of attention to the fact that that person shouldn't be on the stage. They should be in Oklahoma, in the chorus. Not even a lead, they're in the chorus. Also, here's another thing about physicality and of gestures. When we make a gesture, normally when we're talking over coffee, you make a gesture and then you drop it. It's like, I love you. And the hand goes down. Oh, that's so true. And it goes down. But then suddenly when you're on stage, you don't know how to get out of a gesture. I love you. Yes, I'm very, very, it's true how I feel about that. So make a gesture and then just drop it. But people that do that in nature, that's how you speak in nature, when you're at the coffee house. So why all of a sudden you don't know how to get back to your set position? Okay? Just make whatever. You can make anything, any gesture you want, and just make it, as long as you're not doing the same thing with both hands. Hey, and then drop it. And people will buy it, especially if it goes with melody. Hey. If you're doing these kind of gestures and you're all on monotone, it's kind of weird. Right? But the second I tie it to this sound, it's like the guy's got a lot of personality. Right? It's kind of weird, but he's got a lot of personality. I like him. How much time we got? What time am I supposed to stop? How many more minutes do I have?
Take your time.
-5. -5. All right. Some people are afraid to speak on the stage. I never had that fear. Why? Because I'm not practicing melody and volume and breathing and hand gestures while I'm on stage. I'm living it off stage. I am doing the same amount of melody when you meet me over in that corner by the bathroom as that you'll get on the stage. So is there any disconnect? Do I have to become something I'm not to go from off stage to on stage? No. I say we all need to cultivate what the stage sound is. I might be a little softer when you meet me in person, but I'm still going to be doing all the melody, a great deal of the volume, and all the other things. So it's not about practicing what I'm preaching when you're on stage. It's you got to do it all the time. And it's just we're lazy. We've become lazy because we don't think that we have to really deliver so much entertainment to those people listening. Because really when we get in the circles of our friends, we all kind of go in off duty. And then we're like, yeah, well, what happened today? Well, you know, I got another A. I went to lunch, had the same lunch. Egg salad. What'd you do, honey? Yeah. So I'm really comfortable with you, so I don't have to like perform for you, God willing. You know, I'm married to you, so I stopped performing years ago. And I'm like, that's so rude. You want to showcase the best of you at all times. And we have all different personalities. Okay, I have the personality that I use when I'm at work all day, teaching. People come to me, they want to learn how to speak, they want to learn how to sing. This is my voice. When I come home with that voice, it doesn't work as well. I walk in the door, and thinking like I'm a god from all the miracles that I've created during the day. Honey, I'm a god. My big voice, I come in, and she goes, you're a dog. I call her the universal leveler. Because she'll boom. Okay, so that voice doesn't really work on my wife. It's got to be a little softer. It's got to be a little bit more gentle, because when I come home with all that boom power that I had at work, she feels that it's too much, and it is too much. So I have a voice that I use for my wife. I have a voice that I use when I speak to my kids. We all have different characters, but in all of the characters that I play and all of the characters that you play in your daily lives, you still need to be thinking about, do I have any melody? Do I have enough volume? Am I speaking everything too fast or too slow? Because music has patterns, right? Patterns of melody we talked about, but also patterns of rhythm. So if every note in a song had the same length, this is how I sing my song, and every word is just the same length, and so here's my song to you. What a lovely song. No, it's not. Every single word is the same length. Then you'd think that was a pretty crummy writer. So some words of a song are stretched, and some are really, really fast and they get all exciting, and some slow down when they need to. So are you saying everything at the same speed? Stop it. Start mixing it up. Do you need a particular pattern from me? Do you need me to say 2 notes low, 1 note high, back down to 2 notes low? No, just mix it up. Okay? There are more levels to learn, but even just starting to mix it up. Ask me a few questions.
I feel like everything you've told us has been really great,
I'm just questioning as a teacher what I can do to keep my voice safe when I'm using it 8 hours a day, all the time.
Perfect. You start breathing in through your nose, and then you won't dry out the back part of your throat, and you won't dry out your vocal cords, and that'll increase the amount right there of time that you can use your voice. You do not ever speak airy or whispery, because that extra air, honey, I told you not to flush little Billy down the toilet. You don't go to airy because extra air dries out the moisture on the cords like a blow dryer. Right? You have more edge and volume because the voice is not supposed to be soft. So when I talk like this, edgy, people think that having more volume tires out the voice. No, speaking airier tires out the voice. So the answer is, don't speak airy. Make sure you're breathing in through the nose. See when you speak whether you're only using chest voice and whether you get to the top part of the chest voice and that's creating pressure, or whether you're using chest voice and middle voice and head voice, so that literally takes some of the pressure off of the range altogether, so that you're not like belting. How much water should you drink? At least a half a gallon of water a day. At least a half a gallon of water. I like people to drink a gallon of water a day, because who knows if you're drinking enough. And also, are you eating or drinking other things that are using up the moisture that you are drinking? Are you doing caffeine? Are you smoking? Are you in smoke-filled rooms? So those are some things to think about. And when you get hoarse, if you feel like you're getting hoarse and you're losing your voice,
what you got to do is that low larynx stuff. If you just talk like Yogi Bear for a few minutes, what happens is that helps to shrink the swelling of the cords almost immediately. So a few minutes of talking like Yogi Bear, and I'm not saying do this to the students, but that'll help get the cords back to their normal size. Another question.
If you've never had any singing, how do you get melody to your conversation?
Well, okay, so how do you get melody? Singers have specific melodies and notes that they have to hit, because the song is written a certain way. But I'm freeing you of that task. I'm just saying any high notes and any low notes. So, say for me, Roger says just high and just low.
Roger says just high and just low.
So I could do low notes and then jump way up here.
So I could do just low notes and just jump way up here.
But also, he's very guilty of squeaky hinge. Right? You like to spend a lot of time in this place so there's no air coming through. Squeaky hinge happens when there's insufficient amounts of air. So you need to learn how to breathe, getting more volume out, and just indiscriminately pick notes. You don't have to pick any notes that go into a song. Any notes are fine to start with. Okay? Another question.
Can you distinguish more between pace and melody, and say a little bit more about pace?
Yes, for a second. The melody is which notes? Here, and then here, and then here, and then here. Pace is how fast or slow each word is. I can talk like this with all the words fast. Has nothing to do with melody. I can talk like this with all the words fast. Or I can talk too slow, and people think that I'm a dum-dum. So just how fast the words come out, the duration of the words. I have a couple questions.
How about the distinction between pitch and melody?
Well, in music, what pitch you're on is sometimes thought of as melody, but when I talk about pitch, I'm talking all the way to the end of the day. And I know that you're all amazed to see you again some other time, and best of luck.
My name is Yasmin Shaheen McConnell. I am the Executive Vice President of the Harvard Graduate Council. The Harvard Leadership Conference is an initiative of the Harvard Graduate Council, so if you enjoyed your day, please check us out. We would love to have you participate in more of our events. Our website is hgc.harvard.edu, and if you have any questions, come up and talk to us afterwards, but this is a really good example of the type of work we do, and we represent all 12 of Harvard's graduate and professional schools. This is Scott. Scott's our president of the Harvard Graduate Council.
Hi everyone, thank you for taking your time to come out and share the Harvard Leadership Conference with us. This is the third year that we've done it. I look back at how far the conference has come in just these 3 years. We've gone from a single conference, which we had a bunch of panels, to a very interactive, very lively conference. I hope all of you had a chance to enjoy it. And then I'd like to thank all of our speakers for donating their time to come and talk to all of you, and I hope that everyone enjoyed their interactions with them.
And then last but not least, I'd like Layla, would you come up here on stage? This is Layla Al-Khatib. She is Quran Aurora's co-chair, and the two of them have worked very hard on this conference. As co-chairs, they volunteered so many hours towards putting this on. I'd also like to ask Karima, Ryan, and Kayvon to stand up. Can you guys stand up for me? These are... There we go. And Brandon. That's Brandon. The three I mentioned first are some of our student volunteers who were the leaders of this conference. They could not have put in more time to doing this. If you want to be a leader for the Harvard Leadership Conference next year, please come up and talk to anyone who's standing on stage right now. We'd love to talk to you about it. And one last round of applause for our co-chairs on stage. Thank you.